Hey Waffle Gang, I do hope you're well. My name is Mark and today we're checking out some more Reddit stories, and if you do love a Reddit story, why not consider hitting a like, subscribe, maybe that notification bell too. Let's crack on with today's first story. Much love, guys. Now, today's first story is coming from the Entitled People subreddit. Cheeky. From Matt C. Sweet, who says, being called entitled for changing my locks 2 years ago. What? This is a weird story that just happened over the weekend, and I thought you all might enjoy it. So, Saturday night, the missus and I are lying in bed trying to go to sleep, and I hear some noise from the back door. Storm door opens and slams shut. I'm not fully asleep yet, so I put on pants and a shirt I can find and grab my trusty shotgun. Oh shit. We moved to the mountainside and most of the area is still wooded. Living in such condition, wild animals are an issue. We have bears, coyotes, raccoons, and bobcats, to name a few. So, as I'm moving to the back door, I hear a window break in the back garage. I look out and see someone breaking into my garage. I scream for the wife to call the sheriff's office. Around here, 911 doesn't work well for breaking in. We're connected with a couple of counties, and it gets confusing for them. We get quicker response by calling them directly. I'm now in go mode, thinking some meth head is trying to score some tools for some quick cash. Got out the house and noticed this person's truck is still running. I did the only thing I could think of and took the key out of the truck and put it in my pocket and waited for the deputies to show up. Took them 20 minutes to show up. One was state police, the other was a local sheriff deputy who were doing radar 10 miles up the road. Wife and I know them both. With my gun in hand, I told them someone was in the garage. I haven't approached it yet, but here's the key to the perp truck. They go in, gun dawned out, and deal with the situation. The dude was passed out on an old bench seat for an old truck I have by the tool bench. They wake him up and arrest him with little to no issues, other than him screaming profanity at them. They told me that I can press charges and to come in on Monday to file the paperwork. He's not getting out anytime soon. On top of his breaking in, he's been charged with a DUI. Yesterday, I spent the day traveling, trying to fix a window this arsehole broke, since no stores that are open on Sunday in my local area. While in my travels, I'm fuming at the fact that I'm having to do this repair on a piece of junk door from the 70s. My wife was telling me to maybe let him go with a warning, but I'm having none of it. So this morning I went to the sheriff's office. The same deputy was there that arrested the perpetrator. So I asked him how the ride with the dude was. This is the version the officer gave me. The officer says, "Why did you break into the garage?" Perp says, "I was trying to get my stuff back, but someone changed the lock." Officer says, "You know they purchased that place from Kevin 2 years ago, right?" Perp says, "What? That doesn't give them the right to change the lock without telling me." Officer's like, yeah, they can. You haven't been in that house for like 4 years. And I was the one who got you out of that house because you beat the hell out of your old lady. That's twice I get to arrest you on the same property." He replies, "But he shouldn't be entitled to change the locks though. Where else am I supposed to go?" A little backstory on the property. We purchased it from Kevin, who's a school board member, and gave us a decent deal on the property. He had the property as a rental for his nephew for a few years. When his nephew started walking in his dad's footsteps by getting drunk and beating his girlfriend at the time, he evicted him from the property 2 years before we purchased it. When he evicted him, he emptied the contents of the garage as all scrap metal. He found that out Sunday morning when his uncle paid him a visit in jail. Kevin had other renters on the property after. He sold it to us because he didn't want the responsibility of it anymore. He's being charged with trespassing, criminal trespassing, breaking and entering, driving under the influence, and property damage of less than $500. OP, you are one cheeky so-and-so, changing those locks without that guy's permission. What the hell? It sounds like an absolutely messed up person though, but Narrow Butterfly says, "That reminds me, I forgot to give our new driveway gate code to the methods down the street." Ice the Pressure says, "Oh dude, you gotta get on that." Most Artichoke says, "I can't believe you changed the locks without telling him, and you didn't even give him a key. Around here, he would have been shot. He's lucky you hung back and called the cops." The OP comes in to update the post and says, "So it's been a while. I didn't have a chance to meet with Kevin last Thursday, so I spent the day dealing with police who just decided to bring the attorneys who's going to be prosecutor for this case. He was very impressed that I still had all the original receipts for all the tools due to last year's court case. All they would tell me is, because of how much in tools he had access to steal, he would be charged with criminal trespassing, breaking and entering, with malicious intent and attempt of grand larceny. Which all makes sense. He would not comment on the possible DUI charge. Just asked for the footage of him driving in and shows me taking the key out, back in the story I gave the original officer. They were pretty happy with the evidence and said I should be able to get $500 for the damage done to the door as restitution. As for Kevin, we had coffee yesterday and he spilled the beans on his nephew. I asked him if his nephew was the reason he gave us a good deal on the property, and he said no. He felt most of the property around here are too overpriced and was excited about what my wife was bringing to the school, and he wanted to make sure she wasn't going to struggle while living here. I'm still doing all kinds of work on the house since it was pretty much 70s to 80s type setup. When the nephew was arrested, he was put into the drunk tank and used his phone to call his uncle. He was still so drunk that the officer had to get the number for him. He then told Uncle Kevin, "Get your ass down here and bail me out right now." Kevin responded with, "I'll see you in the morning, son." So Sunday morning, he went there to have a little chat. So since he was evicted after his arrest, he skipped town before his court case of assault and battery. His other cousin bailed him out and had skipped out on his bail. Cousin lost $750 on his bail, but it doesn't end there. He asked him what he did to support himself. He wheeled and dealed, as he put it, worked a few cash construction jobs and farm jobs. Where, get this, he admitted to go back and steal tools, material and parts to sell them in 3 states. He'd been to West Virginia, Kentucky and North Carolina. He ended up getting decent at locating parts and selling them. This is the twist. One person approached him because he was looking for a couple of blocks and transmission. He was offering $5,000 for those parts. And he remembered that those exact parts sitting in his old garage in Virginia, and he was going to get them. He doesn't remember Saturday evening too well. He just remembered trying to use his key and it didn't work on the house, and then noticed the door on the garage and tried to get in there since it never had a lock. But I found one that works. That's when Kevin broke the news that after a month of him skipping town, he cleared everything from the house and garage, brought in a dumpster from a scrap metal and got $850 for all the metal found in the garage. So we asked him, what did he do with the money? He said he approached his other nephew to reimburse him for the bail money, but the nephew declined and offered it to the now ex-girlfriend. This boy lost his shit on his uncle and demanded he put up bail money. Then he asked if his truck was still at my place. He said no, state police has it. He turned white as a ghost. The plates he has on his truck are stolen tagged from North Carolina. He has no driver's license. He asked him if he was in trouble in any other state. He said he didn't know. After he would score, he'd skipped town. Kevin gave all that information to the attorney and for them to possibly check any other state and city for open investigation on theft. On Thursday, he demanded for a bail hearing, and it should come to no surprise that the judge denied any bail whatsoever. I asked Kevin what happened to the ex-girlfriend. After the nephew was arrested, he went to visit her and wanted to make sure she was going to press charges, so that the nephew might be able to get sober and get his life straight. He told her not to let nephew on the property, and he was going to give her a couple of months rent-free to figure things out. He ended up moving to Harrisonburg with her sister. She had a pretty fucked up upbringing, and sister was now able to help her as she's no contact from mum and stepdad. They grew up in Elkin, WV, and both trying to leave nastiness. Sister ended up getting better with education. She just tried to hook up with the first guy that could take her out of town. He hasn't spoken to her in 3 years, so that's pretty much all the info he had on it. The top comments on that was says, "I'd love to know how much time he's facing in jail time." Unhappy reply set saying, "Not enough." PA reply saying, "This guy has a domestic violence charge, plus OP listed and the DUI. Plus admitted to theft across state lines, might bring federal charges." OP responded saying, "Plus he skipped bail and was on the run for 4 years. What an absolute mess of a person. How many times can you make the wrong choice? It seems like every single choice he made was a bad one. Now, I'm going to turn this one to you guys. What do you guys make of this situation? And I figured, we've covered one entitled people story. Let's stick with the theme, shall we? Our next story is from Keys-Around 4389. It says, "Sister-in-law is offended that she wasn't informed on my pregnancy." I got pregnant in November. Previous to this, I had a difficult miscarriage. This time around, I decided not to tell anyone of the pregnancy until I was 12 weeks along. A couple of times during those initial 12 weeks, sister-in-law would ask point blank if I was pregnant. I always tried to politely brush it off and just hold my belly and say I love food, implying I'm just fat. Once 12 weeks rolled around, my husband and I told my parents and his parents. I guess his parents told his sister, but that didn't bother me too much. I figured it's past 12 weeks, so it's not a secret, and sister-in-law had been pregnant before, so she knows how private these things can be. Well, apparently, I was wrong. My in-laws had a gathering at my husband's grandmother's house, and several times sister-in-law brings up how I'm pregnant and she called it. At one point she called me a liar because I didn't confirm with her when she asked point blank. I just kept looking away, and people were giving her weird looks, but not confronting her. Nobody was really even speaking to her. She was just talking loudly to herself. She just didn't drop the subject, so I looked her straight in the eye and said, "Why are you so obsessed with my uterus? Seems a bit weird." And she got offended and called me a liar again for not confirming with her when she asked point blank. I looked at her again and said, "Asking if someone is pregnant is a really rude question. I don't know why you think it's appropriate. But of course, if you always want to be the first to know, I can text you postcoitally every time I have sex with your brother. That way you can even have an astrology sign of the future baby figured out." She looked at me disgusted and just kept saying it's wrong to lie, and my husband and I and my toddler left. I burst into tears as soon as we left. My husband was completely on my side about it. His mum even called me the next day to say she spoke to sister-in-law to say she was inappropriate. Sister-in-law now refuses to look at me for any family functions. Easier for me. Absolutely, I mean, that's a positive on the end right there. I just wonder what goes through their head. Does anything go through their head to even think this is acceptable? Like, I'm going to spurt this out in front of a family gathering of all places as well. Absolutely bizarre ass behavior. Blue Dandelion comes in with our next story. I saw this one and, you know, little public stuff going on. I always get excited about it. Entitled people get on our table when we had already reserved it, and then get annoyed when they're kicked out. So this happened 2 years ago or so. My parents and I were in Madrid during Easter as tourists. We had a good morning and my mum decided to call a restaurant she'd seen on Google. I had good reviews on it to reserve a table so we could eat lunch there. It took us around 20 minutes or so to get to the restaurant, and when we got there, we saw all the tables in the terrace were occupied. We were confused because my mum had asked to eat in the terrace on the phone call. Because the weather was nice and since it was a beautiful day, we wanted to enjoy it outside. Apparently, a couple had sat down on our table without seeing the small sign saying reserved table on it to get some drinks and a snack. They didn't have any drinks yet though, so they must have sat down a few seconds before we arrived. The waiter sheepishly asked them to leave, since we had reserved the table, and the woman scoffed but ended up getting up with a huff. The man approached us, rolled his eyes and said, "Right, this is because you want to eat lunch here, and that takes precedence over having some drinks, right?" Typical. My mum raised her eyebrows at him and told him coldly, "No sir, you're being kicked out because we made a reservation to eat outside on the terrace and you took our spot. I have the phone call to prove it. Do you want to see it?" And she took out her phone, ready to show it to him. The man ended up grumbling and going away with the woman. Needless to say, the meal was delicious and the weather was very nice. 10 out of 10. I had a little bit of a drama myself recently with reserved seating. Don't have an ending to it yet, but I will keep you updated if we ever do get an ending to it. But basically for my birthday, a family member bought me a couple of tickets to a local comedy show that was going on. Pretty difficult to get tickets for, but they bought them from someone else because they had some spares. I thought, fantastic, I can't wait. I was looking forward to it, you know. Got there, had a couple of drinks, went to my seating, and there was someone sat in my seats. I was looking up and down, making sure I had the right seats, checking the seat numbers. There was definitely someone in my seat. So I went over to him and I said, "Excuse me, I don't mean to be rude. Is this seat B12 or whatever it was?" They just looked me straight in the face and went, "Yep, that's B12." And they pulled out the tickets, and I had the ticket with I had a printed ticket. They had like official tickets. And so I was like, "What the hell?" So I said, "Oh, somehow I've got the same seat number as you." They seemed to be confused. I was confused. I went to the reception to find out what the hell was going on. And after about 10 minutes or so of this going on, the lady on the reception tells me that those tickets that I had were cancelled the night before by the person who originally bought the tickets. So it wasn't my family member who bought it off that person, but it was that person themselves apparently cancelled those tickets. So as you can imagine, I was a bit pissed off and I looked like a right tit. But just at the same time, as I was doing that, a lady came up and she wanted to get a refund on a couple of tickets because she had 2 spare. And I was like, hell, if you're selling those tickets, I'll buy them off you. I had to buy these tickets in the end, which was no hassle, and I really enjoyed the show. But at the same time, there was a guy to the left of me who was offering me tickets, and I thought he was trying to sell me at the same time. I was confused, I was flustered that he was trying to give them me for free. And it turned out he was the dad of the guy who was running the comedy show. So he had some spare tickets anyway, and it was really nice. He came up to me and we had a little chat afterwards, and so did the main comedian. So I went to a bar down the road afterwards and met him there, and the main comedian came up and had a chat and said sorry about the hassle and went over our story, and it was really nice in the end. But we still don't know if that woman actually did cancel the ticket or not, or there was some confusion somewhere along the line. I really want to know, but I'm not sure if I'm ever going to know. But let's have one more little entitled people story. It's got a little paragraph update at the very end of it, but it's from Nagi. Says, neighbor's mother wants my husband's parking spot permanently. Our car was stolen in June and returned to us at the end of July. It's being worked on, and my husband has had to tell our neighbor's mother, who visits, she can no longer park in our parking spot. All is well and good until today, when I'm coming home from some errands. This lady is on our stoop. I love a stoop. The only time I can remember stoop being used is in the Hey Arnold cartoons. But anyway, this lady is on our stoop, asking for my husband and if there is a way he can extend her parking allowance in our spot. She explains she's moving into the townhouse next to us to help care for her grandkids, and she sees that our car is a lost cause. She has said that us losing our car was great, so she can park closer to the townhouse and not have to park on the street. What I told her and what my roommate / landlord has told us is thus. The car is being returned and instated in October, and you have until then to make arrangements. This woman, who I'm assuming has no sense of reality, said the chances of our car ever working is nil, and that we should just give her the parking spot. Our townhouses have assigned parking, and guest parking spots are adjacent. I told her she has to wait till my husband comes home and talk to him. She literally said she won't talk to him and will just take the spot whenever she wants, regardless if we get our car working or not. The car is currently at my husband's father's being worked on. I know it seems petty, but I'm considering calling a tow truck the next time she does this. Do it, tow truck. Can we say tow truck like we do tree lawn from now on? Tow truck, tow truck. And that's basically the only choice in this, right? Because you ain't going to see any logic in any other way. She's told you she's going to be parking on your drive regardless whether you like it or not. You can just get stuffed apparently. But Opie comes in with an update and says, neighbor, who is the son of the woman, has gotten involved and sided with us on the matter. He has told his mother to park in the guest parking spots from now on, or do not come here at all. She also lied to me about moving in. Big surprise. So far, I was given a blessing if she does it again to call a tow truck. We did have someone park in our spot, but he asked if it was okay. He was part of a home inspection because one of our neighbors is selling his townhouse and was only there for 20 minutes. I've mentioned this before, but there's a school down the road from me, and next to the school there's like an area where there's a bunch of houses and drives and stuff, and every morning people dropping off their kids come drive in and park on people's drives for 10-15 minutes or so, and I'm always incredibly frustrated for those neighbors. That would get right on my tits. And it's not like these people are asking to do it. They don't knock on the door and say, oh, do you mind if I park on your drive for 5 minutes or so? They literally do it. I saw someone once park on someone's drive and then start emptying out their car into their bin. I know it's a bin. It's better than being on the floor. But to do that, the entitlement to do that on someone's drive, I just find wild. The thought process that goes through your head. Cheeky bastards. But what do you guys make of this situation? Have you had yourself a little entitled neighbor drama? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. Now, just a huge thank you from the bottom of my heart for getting involved in today's stories. Your love, your support, your time. always means the absolute world to me. So thank you so much for being involved. Truly, it's absolutely amazing. And I will see you in the next one. Take care and much love.